Welcome back to Tucson, Arizona, and the Icebreaker Challenge. My name is Dave Vincent alongside David Fink for this four-man tournament we have here at Clark Park today.
Looking forward to this one, Dave. Erik Torres, who I would say his best game is three-wall. He's had a lot of success playing three-wall. Semifinalist at the last three-wall nationals, taking on Ricardo Palma, who I know is on your Next Gen list, Dave. He's definitely one of the top 10 players in the U.S. under 25. So this is a big moment for Ricardo, who made the trip here from Southern California.
I was glad that he got the invite because I know that there's a whole list of players. I think he said when we were talking to him that he got the invite from you and he just ordered a hamburger, and he said, I had to put it down and not eat it because he felt so proud to even get the invite to begin with. And he said, you know what, I need to start training.
That's nice. And that was 2 months ago, so this has been a long training camp. Also took a long time to custom make those shirts that he's wearing. I don't know if that's available on ricardopalma.com or not, but definitely looks good on him.
You're going to crash that website. They can only handle 2 people at a time. Our referee is going to be Loren, Collado, came down from Northern California. It's a very quiet park here today because of the pandemic. We are trying to social distance the right way, make sure that when we have these tournaments that the players have been in the bubble, they've been swabbed. Mm-hmm. They've distanced themselves as well as they lead into this. The referee has the face mask on, as you can see, and so do the fans. And Dave, that scoring format here, it's best 2 out of 3 to 21, tiebreaker to 11, is that right?
That's right. First point there for Erik. That's probably the toughest shot to handle in three-wall, that hard drive bouncing right at your feet to your offhand. Ricardo says his favorite shot is the tomahawk. Dave, we'll see how much he's able to use that here.
Well, that's probably the best shot on these courts, is that underhand fist to the roof and send it right out of the ballpark. And that's when you know you've got an experienced player, when they immediately jump into that, already know how to use the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave, you call that ceiling shot that sends the player out of the court, you call that a kill shot, because that ultimately is what it is, right?
Right. That's a rally ender, which I consider a kill shot. Now, Erik going Killian Carroll here, serving left-handed.
And getting the ace.
Wow. Cross-court pass there from Erik. Dave, you mentioned that ceiling shot. What people may not realize is it's not easy to hit this ceiling. It only goes back about 16 feet, so if you're not inside the court, you're likely to send the ball into that fence or over it.
Like that. You had a premonition. That wasn't a fish shot, but still he was going up to the roof.
This was billed, Dave, as the NorCal versus SoCal Icebreaker, but really it's a next-gen Icebreaker. All 4 players in this event are in their early to mid-20s. They're really the future of the sport. So it's really cool to get all 4 of them together while also enjoying that SoCal-NorCal rivalry.
Now, you've played out on these courts in the morning like we are at right now. How is the sun on those courts and the shadows? How does that work in with that dark ball?
You see the ball fine when you're in the court. And right now the sun's not coming into the court at all. It doesn't come in until a little bit later in the day.
Boy, Ricardo's doing a lot of running here.
Nice get, Ricardo.
That was a really good get on the first one. The second one wasn't bad either. He just didn't make it to the front wall.
Erik sticking to this left-hand serve. That's not a good serve there.
It gave him a good setup opportunity. He didn't convert. You have to convert outdoors. It just seems with the way this game's played that if you've worked yourself into a setup, you need to convert it.
Well, you have so many more options to end the rally in 3-wall than you do in 4-wall because you've got the ceiling, you've got the bottom board kill shot, and you've also got kind of an overhand drive pass. So if you get a setup, you really have no reason not to end the rally. And like you said, Dave, if you don't, your opponent will likely come in there and put the pressure on.
That was a very smart shot right there from Ricardo Palma.
Ricardo hits a lot of fish shots that can be effective in 3-wall. He's got good control. He had good control there to the roof. Ricardo's saying that the legend he'd most like to play would be Vince Munoz. Vince knows a thing or two about that fist to the ceiling, Dave.
Absolutely. I'm not sure how much playing he would get if he played against Vince Munoz, though. If running after balls is a way of playing your hero, because Vince had it all outdoors.
Sloppy rally there, both guys with good looks to end the rally and just not doing enough. Score 0-6 here, Dave. First game, second icebreaker, semifinal number 1.
I saw an interesting thing that happened back at the beginning of that rally right there with Erik kind of shading across Ricardo. It wasn't necessarily an avoidable hinder. I'd probably let that go if I was a referee, but is that something that Erik does outdoor just based off of probably who he plays at his park? Maybe playing big ball where it's allowed a little bit more?
Well, it's interesting because watching Erik, it does look like he plays very close, but I've played him several times and I've never felt like he was anywhere near me. It's just kind of a perception thing from the gallery that doesn't always necessarily feel the same way in the court. That's a nice serve. Ricardo's saying that the most important shot in handball is the serve return. He's not done well returning serve here early in this match.
Score is 7-1, game number 1. And there's another sloppy return of serve. Is Erik putting a little wrinkle on this? It seems to have Ricardo just a little bit off balance on that return of serve.
That's a perfect shot.
Boy, that is awesome.
Well, you know, Erik's got that effortless power. You can see it. Even if you weren't a handball player, you'd see this guy is so smooth, and when you've got that smooth stroke with the power, it's going to have hop on it, and he does have a lot of hop. I'd say uses mostly a natural. Erik does. Even if you see it coming, it's still bouncing away from you or into your body.
That's one of those real naturals where he's not doing anything with his elbow or his body to even telegraph it.
Right.
It just happens based off of the leverage he gets.
That's such a tough shot that Erik made look easy there.
I know that people will hate this comparison, but the smoothness that Erik has in the deep court reminds me a lot of Dave Chapman. The way he stops and just has the right form as he goes through the ball.
His style also reminds me a little bit of Tyler Hamill.
It's probably a better reference. than the one I made. The one I made brings phone calls and emails.
I'm not going to even begin to guess who'll be sending those.
It says anonymous on my cell phone.
Yeah, I get those same emails, but they're not anonymous. A lot of vulgarity.
There's that overhand tomahawk that you brought up in the pregame.
Well, he called his shot. He said that's his favorite shot. He's tried it a couple times here today without success. That one did work. Now that was a fist. He curled around the outside of the ball. Ball hits the front wall and straightens out. That's a return of serve kill.
Yeah, I love those shots. See, there's a cool version of that as well. Erik cut it off, though.
Good rally there from both guys. Erik whiffs that last shot, but that's a tough shot.
Both of these players saying that the ball is really bouncy, or the courts are more solid than what they've been playing with at home.
I've heard that.
Do you find it to be that way, Dave?
Well, I'm used to it here, but I think coming from California, particularly Northern California, where they're at sea level, it's colder. I think the conditions are a lot faster here.
Look at that smoothness with his left.
Ricardo's upset with that air, but really he's going for the wrong shot there.
11-4, is that the score here?
Erik took a 6-0 lead. He's been in control since the very first serve of this match. Erik is an Olympian, Dave. He represents the Olympic Club. One-time Olympic Club in-house singles champion. Multiple-time doubles.
I get this feeling that if Erik were the type of player that could just focus on handball as a profession, he would be in the top 5.
We've been saying that for a lot of years.
Well, he hasn't been able to do that. But if he was able to just focus just on handball, not life and work and all the other things.
Erik calls his semifinal loss at the 2019 USHA 3-Wall Nationals the best match he's ever played. Interesting to say that a match that you didn't win was the best you ever played, but I think that's a nice perspective. You can play well and lose.
Well, I know a lot of people that win and are not happy with that win, so you're right, it is a good way of looking at it. Is Palma takes a timeout. You're watching the Icebreaker Challenge. It's a 4-man icebreaker. We did this back in, September with the guys here in Tucson, Arizona. And then we had the women's icebreaker and the El Paso icebreaker, both being canceled because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're attempting, obviously, with this tournament to do it again. And this time the players have been in their bubble and they've swabbed and they've social distanced and they've stayed safe. And we're really providing them with as much distance as possible. The fans here and those in charge with the tournament, you can see our photographer here all wearing face masks to include the referee.
Erik says his favorite athlete is Rafa Nadal. Interesting because he plays nothing like Nadal. Erik makes the game look so easy. Nadal is scurrying.
More of a worker
Right.
on the court there.
That was a ladybug issue right there.
Yeah.
Erik did not want to harm that ladybug that he almost stepped on in the service box. Erik says his favorite shot, 2-wall pass deep.
In 3-wall or 4-wall?
Didn't specify. Although that shot can be very effective in 3-wall.
Oh yeah, of course.
Speaking of Dave Chapman, Dave, Erik said he did play Chapman, but Chapman at the time was past his prime. He said he would have loved to have played Chapman when Chapman was in his prime. Not really sure what year that would have been. Maybe you would have an opinion, or maybe you don't want to get those emails.
No, I believe he played him in Vegas.
I was referring to Chapman's prime.
Oh, I got you.
Come on, you're there.
Erik saying the best fans are his home fans and also any collegiate tournament. These are my favorite fans here.
There's Palma calling his own screenshot there.
And we'll see if that comes back to haunt him at any point in this tournament. There is a referee here, Dave. Another tomahawk air. That's a problem when you fall in love with that tomahawk shot. You make one and miss 10.
Game number 1, 16-4. This is the semifinals of the SoCal versus NorCal Icebreaker.
That's a good first strike from Erik. You get the feeling that Erik could really blast that ball to the ceiling and hit it about 20 feet deeper, but it seems like he just floats the ball to the ceiling, pushes Ricardo just past the back line. But if you really step into that with all the power he has, I think Ricardo would be in the bleachers.
Yeah, it looks like that as well, with Erik trying to stay more controlled. I say that if you're on the right side of the court here and you want to hit a ceiling shot, you want to target over to the left and let it go over that side wall. That's game point here. Serves 4. And there it is, with Palma only getting 4 points here against Erik Torres. It is the Icebreaker Challenge with the world players of handball during the pandemic. In fact, Dave, you could say that this is the height of the pandemic at this exact moment. Most people would say it's risky to hold a handball tournament during these times, but we closed the gates to the fans for the most part. Some people have, beat us to the park, and so they're sitting here watching, which is cool. But they've all distanced themselves. What are your thoughts with the sport of handball? Can it progress or go forward during this pandemic like it is? Or do you believe it has to have, or we should have, a vaccine before we go forward?
Well, I think what we're doing is the safest way that you can possibly play. I think being outdoors is a lot safer than being indoors. Closing the park, we've got 5 courts and, 5 people within 10,000 square feet. The 2 players are really not too close inside the court there, and as you know, the air particles dissipate much more quickly outside. Of course, a vaccine will be ideal, but I think for now, as long as the players are protecting themselves and staying safe and the staff stays socially distant from the players, that these events are feasible.
Do you believe that a tournament like this, I know you're not a scientist, but a tournament like this, if one of the players actually had the virus, do you believe that they could spread it with what we have laid out here?
Well, you've said that I'm not a scientist, but now I'm expected to answer as though I am.
I mean, I sit here and wonder, I go, with all the precautions, the swabbing, the test, the distance, the bubble, all of these things that we've done, if one of these players, or even if a staff member had it, with as much distance as we put, could somebody still get it?
I guess it depends which political expert you ask.
It's true.
Whichever epidemiologist is hired by either Trump or Biden. That first game, Erik Torres with 4 ace serves, including the last serve of that first game, Ricardo with no aces. Erik with 5 first strike kills, Ricardo with 2. Erik doubling Ricardo in right hand rally enders 10-5, 3-1 with left hand kills, and Erik also winning 8 of the 13 6-plus shot rallies. So you look down the stats, and clearly Erik dominating every statistical category. Erik with 5 errors, Ricardo with 11. But Ricardo did lead in screens called. He called his own screen once. So
he does have a lead in one of those categories.
yes.
Or one category.
17 minutes for that first game. 21-4. I don't think that's what Ricardo had in mind when he put that hamburger down. See Ricardo just falling back there. At the last 4-wall nationals, 2019 at Los Cab, Ricardo Palma played in the A bracket, which was, I would say, very close to a qualifier level bracket. Made the finals, led 9-0 against David Walsh from Ireland, and lost 11-9. David Walsh went on to earn a Race for 8 ranking a couple months later. That was an electric match, Dave.
You notice that on a 3-wall court, when a player gets into a position where they need to make a get, that they oftentimes will use a fish shot instead of opening up their hand where they have, scientifically more area to hit the ball.
I've seen that. And I think because when you're on the run in 3-wall, you need to hit the ball with a little bit more power, and they're trying to generate that power by hitting with a fist. Ricardo's working hard in this rally. Erik should have ended it 4 shots ago.
That was a pretty good shot right there, though. 2 good shots from Ricardo. But I think that benefits Erik more. He's pushing Ricardo back and forth without having to do much movement himself.
And that's why it's a fine line on these courts between a great defensive shot and hitting that lip or the fence. You're 1 inch from a perfect shot, or you've just lost the rally.
You don't see these players going for corner kills much here. Playing more straightforward and back. Wow. Not sure what Erik was even attempting there, because that was either the worst miss of all time or...
Oh, he was going for a deep drive to the right. I think to the ceiling. You notice Ricardo's footwork on his serve doesn't really use that traditional pro 3-step motion into the serve. And he's losing a lot of power because of it. Now this time he's using an overhand serve, so we'll have to look at it next time he hits a power serve.
There it is.
At times, Dave, it looks like these guys are just practicing together, hitting the ball back and forth to one another. A lot of setup opportunities that are
Yeah, I was wondering if it was
not
just
taken advantage of.
just the camera angle. The further back you get, the easier the game looks.
Uh-huh.
And, some of that's probably true, but I agree with you. I'm seeing multiple opportunities and just wrong decisions, it looks like. Kind of sloppy play. Maybe because it's early.
See that service checking up off the right side wall at about 30 feet. Ricardo needs to be taking advantage of that serve, pushing Erik out of the front, but instead he's letting that ball jam him into the body, not able to put much on his return.
Good inside-out shot from Torres. He's had a couple winners like that.
Ricardo off to a much better start here in Game 2 than Game 1, where he was down 6-0. Ultimately losing that game 21-4. Really perfect conditions to play handball right now, Dave. It's about 68 degrees here early in the morning.
Which is cold for Tucson.
Yeah.
But it's perfect. Yeah, it feels so good.
Now the sun in the shade is less of an issue than you think. You'd think it would be a problem, but when you're in there, it really doesn't affect much. Now if you're playing here midday, it does get very bright. Hard to play without sunglasses. Right now the condition's just ideal. Now that looks like a bad error, but really that's a very difficult shot. Even for a top deep court player like Erik, falling backwards. And you tell yourself just hit the front wall, but so easy to hit the ball to the fence or over that fence.
Yeah, when you jump back for a ball on the deep line, do you have to torque your hand in a different direction? Like I've heard people talk about this. If you go with your natural shot, you're sending it over the whole complex, but if you bend your hand maybe toward the front wall a little bit more and try to flatten it out, is that a way?
I've had top 3-0 players tell me that, and I tried it twice and hit both
in the ground.
15 feet over the wall.
Oh, okay.
Keeping my hand stiffer. But you're also concerned about if you hit it halfway up the front wall, that's an easy fly kill for your opponent. So you're trying to hit it high.
Torres trying to go with that Ricardo Palma.com shot.
Well, I think he wasn't necessarily going for the .com there. It was ball caught the side wall as he hit it. You see Ricardo facing the front wall and spinning backwards as he tries that left-handed fly kill.
Smart. Dave, now when Ricardo hit that deep ball that Erik then in turn hit it back toward the middle, would you have ran in and tried to fly that as opposed to taking the steps back? I mean, if you're going to force your opponent back, then you need to jump forward and take it, right? That's the whole reason for doing that. I mean, you don't have to fly kill it. You can still go back in there and jam it back to the ceiling again if you don't have the right shot. Go with a pass.
I see Erik in particular setting himself up for a lot of good offensive opportunities and just not converting. Now that time he went for it, but a lot of these offensive opportunities he's just hitting the ball high and keeping the rally going. That's a good deep drive.
That was terrible. Sorry. That was just not the right.
It took you 12 of those misses to call it terrible.
Boy, that looked like he was trying to hop it. I know he's left-handed here on this, but that ball had some wrinkle. I think it was just a natural left-handed hook.
Well, that's one of the few really deep serves that we've seen close to the back line. Most of the serves in this match have landed in between the service line and the baseline, which is the worst place you can hit a serve in 3-wall.
That was close.
Even clipping the side wall there, though, is not effective, even if it's close to the back line. If you tried to hit that lip, you never could.
Right.
But yet, in this match, we've already seen that lip hit 13
Yeah,
times.
I was going to say 6 or 7 just from Ricardo.
Right. Maybe that's the trick, is try and hit it.
Yeah. I mean, you hit 11 in a finals match and still blew out your opponent. So maybe it's not a bad thing after all.
Well, it doesn't feel good when you do it. But it's only about 6 inches wide. I think if you can be that consistent, you could just hit just about any shot.
Well, it just shows you that if that ceiling came forward just another, 4 feet or even less, then those balls would actually make it probably.
Right.
Although, the way that it works, at least for me, you would still miss and still hit the front of the...
Right.
This is the Icebreaker Challenge. Very first match of the day. We start with the semifinals. Those 2 winners will play each other in the finals. The losers play for 3rd place, and then we have a special doubles match.
Wow.
I don't think we're going to announce that, but does that help out with any of the ranking points based on, whether NorCal wins or SoCal wins? That doubles?
The doubles is just for a bragging rights California title.
I gotcha. Okay.
So even more valuable than ranking points. Ricardo with an ace serve there.
Well, I know he has those. We just haven't seen him in the service box enough to get comfortable to do it. Is that something that you consciously try to do, Dave? Is that you go for that crack serve? Is that something that you have planned before you play, or is it just a feel when you get in there saying, I'm going to go for this because I've lulled him to sleep with those deep serves, I'm now going to go for that crack?
Well, I think it's like John Bike said, and I think you saw that 3-wall power serve article, but everything works off the deep serve to the left for him. He was left-handed, so I would say the deep serve to the right for most right-handers. Once you establish that, then you can start to mix in those shorter crack serves because you've got your opponent worried about the deep serve. So, for most players, and I know John Bike said this, it's that deep serve that sets up everything.
Well, I know that when we had that first icebreaker, Sam Esser just was focusing on the crack serve.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he started getting a couple deep serves in, it seemed like he can really go somewhere with this if he incorporates it in the right, at the right times.
It's dangerous to just concentrate on the short serve because even if it's just a foot over the line, you're giving your opponent the opportunity to step in and really crush a return and takes away your advantage as the server. Not much risk in the deep serve because if you're hitting it close to the line, you're not going to be pushed around.
Well, I'd like to see, and it'll never happen, but I'd like to see at least outdoor go to just the one serve.
Mm-hmm.
There is no second serve. And that would take care of the long serve. That would take care of those short serves.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be a side out.
Right.
And that makes it more difficult for the server, but the really good servers are still going to go for it. The Sean Lennings, the Killian Carrolls, they're still going to go for those serves. The Dave Finks. I think your serve out here is probably one of the best.
Ricardo hits the deck there. Went for a tomahawk kill there. Didn't work.
He did not lobby for a screen.
We're seeing much fewer hinders called in this match than in the first icebreaker. There's the announcer's curse.
Boy, it's tough to swing a miss out here, unless that ball is coming right out of the sun. Then again, these guys have said that these courts are quick. The ball bounces faster than they're used to. I think that has a lot to do with elevation, more so than the courts. Good shot from Ricardo.
Yeah, about 2,300 feet higher than Erik is accustomed in Northern California. Combined with warmer temperatures, which is also going to make the ball fly.
I think it's 8-9. Is that the score now?
That was a beautiful out-the-door ace from Ricardo.
If you just tuned in, Erik Torres won the first game 21-4, and now we're at 8-9 in game number 2. Maybe it's 10-9.
Ricardo takes advantage of that kill shot that was left up from Erik. That's a tough shot, Dave. The ball just clips the side wall.
Well, it worked. His little tomahawk finally came through. 11-9 here.
Ricardo trying to force a tiebreaker here. This is the first time he's held a lead in this match.
Boy, Erik had his setup there. He played that rally perfectly, and then he missed it. Boy, Ricardo lets that ball go deep, and it wasn't even close. About 2.5 feet in.
The way you hit it.
Ricardo is known in Southern California as El Bulldog for his tenaciousness. Dave?
Beautiful serve. See, you can establish, like you said earlier, a lot of things with that serve right there.
Right.
You do that a couple times in a row, and then you go with your crack to the left, for example. See, that's tough. Those deep balls are tough.
And I think Erik makes a mistake by switching from right-handed to left-handed because you want to get into a rhythm of being able to hit those deep serves like the two he just hit. Now he goes away from it.
Wow. Did that ball hit the right side wall up top and then bounced out? That was an interesting shot.
Erik did well to return that deep drive with his right, and then Ricardo steps in with the tomahawk.
A little bit more power there, Dave.
Right.
And that's what it generates. And Erik played that right. For those that are new and don't play three-wall, if you're going to send somebody off the court, take a few steps forward and cut off their next shot, like Erik did.
Right, and the fly kill doesn't have to be perfect because your opponent is 50 feet from the front wall. Anything that's a foot high or lower is probably going to win the point. Ricardo shoots from 43 feet with Erik 20 feet in front of him. Hits a pretty good shot, but it's got to be perfect in order to win the point with the geography as it was.
You're watching the WPH Icebreaker Challenge, NorCal versus SoCal. What do you have this build as? What's your little hook? SoCal and NorCal, or you call it Next Gen?
Well,
I don't want to step on you, you know.
Initially, it was SoCal versus NorCal, but looking at our players, it really is a Next Gen Cup. Now, this isn't every one of the Next Gen players, but these are certainly four of the most prominent. Next Gen meaning 26 and under.
Well, that's what you're tuned into. This is the first match of the morning here in Tucson, Arizona at Clark Park, where we have social distanced, got out of the bubble, and went into a new one here at the park. Everyone's been really good with the way that they've handled the pandemic. And you can have tournaments during these strange times.
Score is 12-12.
You just have to put a little bit more work into it. Make sure everybody stays safe. Erik got caught into no man's land there. And
Well, that was a great fist to the ceiling return.
very hard to do from that angle and that spot.
Score is 12-12.
Those usually end up on the fence. I'd expect a tomahawk here soon. There it is. Exactly what happened. I didn't think that Ricardo felt comfortable staying back there.
13. 13-12.
I think Ricardo feels more comfortable trying to end the rally from 55 feet than he does from about 15.
Overhand air there from Erik.
14-12. That big ball here. Come on.
Not necessarily a bad idea. If he would have made that shot, it would have been very difficult to get back.
Low percentage.
Put it down.
Now, that could have been called an avoidable, correct?
No, I don't think so. He was
14.
had to get off the wall there.
Well, that one looked good.
Fourteen, 13.
That's a smooth corner kill. It seems like Erik can hit that shot anytime he wants, but that's the first time we've seen him use the corner.
13, 14.
That's the fourth ball that Erik has hit long in this game.
14, 13. Oh my God! Shot.
Erik is starting to find his range on that overhand drive, right to right. We saw it throughout the first game and into this game, clipping the right side wall, trying to hit the ball straight out. That last rally, you saw him hit a couple of really nice drives straight down the wall.
Yeah, that one deep to the right was brilliant, and it set up that last shot for him. It's all about control, right? If you have really good control out here, I find it odd that a lot of players think that they have the control, but they're always hitting the side walls deep.
Right. It's frustrating when you're playing and they're crossing there. And you're setting yourself up for those straight drives down the wall and clipping the side wall.
Fifteen, 14. Timeout.
Ricardo calls a timeout here, now trailing 16-14.
Yeah, Erik Torres. There's times during this match where it seems like he turns the switch, just flips it on, and then goes for 3 or 4 points, and it looks so effortlessly done. And then other times where it's very sloppy. We saw midway through here in game number 2. Both players playing very sloppy. Now you're seeing more of the pro game. Erik is really, what I've noticed is hit those deep balls during the rally, and he has really good control both to the right and the left, and then obviously his serve is starting to work as well. You saw that smooth corner kill to the right to front. He hadn't done that at all up until this point, so it seems like whatever he's doing right now is more of the finals guy that you see from Erik Torres. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a couple more aces. It seems like once you get one and you're a good server, you can get those sort of things to happen. There's a point for Erik.
17, 14.
That's a good serve right there.
I think you might be psychic, Dave.
That's 3 in a row.
Right. 1 before the timeout and 2 after.
Hey, let's see if we can make it 3. Ooh.
Good thing Ricardo called that timeout.
You know what I'd do is I'd go into a long rally and then call a timeout.
Timeout, take a third timeout.
Oh, darn it.
You almost finished calling the score. Almost finished. What's the rule behind that? Can I argue that?
That's Erik being passive aggressive. He wants to be upset about that the referee was calling the score in the middle of the player taking the timeout. Dave, what is the rule? You have to. The rule does say that once the referee calls the score, you can't take a timeout. So if the referee's in the middle of calling the score, by that wording, he hasn't called it yet. So you can call it while they're calling the score, correct?
I don't think so. I think once the score is being called.
Yeah, I don't know. I had to look it up. It said once the referee calls the score, but he hasn't called it completely yet.
I think in the act of calling it is equivalent to calling the score. He is calling the score.
That's a good shot. Palma goes right over the top of that ball.
Yeah, he mishit that, and it came out of the corner with a different kind of spin than Erik was expecting. Terrible serve.
Good return, though. Makes you wonder why you can't do a return like that every single time.
Well, not all serves are that bad.
Mine are.
19, 14.
19 to 14 here. Game number 2. Be interesting to ask Erik why he serves left-handed. Is that just so his arm gets warmed up before?
He may feel it gives him an advantage, keeps his opponent off balance.
But he wasn't serving very good with his left. I didn't think.
Okay, set up. There goes to the corner there.
Match point, 14.
Uh-oh. Another long one for Erik.
He was in a perfect spot there to pinch the ceiling and bounce the ball over that side wall. That's the ideal spot to hit with your right, to bounce it over that edge. But he went below the ceiling, hit it out by 10 feet.
Fourteen, 20. Skip. Match point, 14.
Back to that left-handed serve for Torres.
Second serve.
Jeez. Terrible sequence of event there. Erik started off left-handed, served it long. In the gallery there, they couldn't get the ball back correctly. He laughed a little bit about how it was delivered to the court, and then he serves right-handed right into himself for a double fault. It's a drop of water.
Oh my God. What was that?
That ball would have been close to being out as well. I think it was the smart idea to hit it, but
No, that ball was in.
2014.
Match point number 3.
there it is, the match going to Erik Torres. He will be in the finals here in Tucson, Arizona for this Icebreaker Challenge on a beautiful Saturday morning.
Ricardo playing considerably better there in that second game, although still losing at 21-14. He'll move on to the third place final. Ricardo with 5 aces in that game and 12 kill shots. Also won 11 6-plus shot rallies to 8 for Erik. Ricardo still with 10 errors, though. That hurt him. Erik 13 errors, though, in that game.
Wow. But he had the better serves. It appeared.
Well, Erik did have 7 aces to Ricardo's 5, so the serve, not that big a factor.
Well, we have Dylan Hernandez going to face our referee that we just saw, Loren Collado, here in match number 2. Dave, you're going to stick around for this, right?
I think I will.
Okay, so we'll have that one coming up next. Stick around with WPHLive.tv.